Germination. I went out one day in early spring. I was shivering with energy like an electricity pylon. I walked at a normal pace through the village, and then faster and faster as I left its confines. I was almost running. I found myself at the top of a hill, overlooking the valley. A few weeks previously, the farmer must have removed his cows from the nearly vertical field below, as the lush grass there was tall and unkempt, with blossoming wildflowers embroidered throughout in polychromatic patches. There were graceful white snowdrops and deep indigo hyacinths, and also small violet crocuses with pipe cleaner-like stamens. Galanthus, hyacinthus, crocus. Dad used to be a gardener when my brother and I were little, and he would teach us all the names, the Latin too. I'd come back from wherever I'd been and describe the flowers, shrubs and trees I'd seen in great detail, and he'd tell me what they were called. I sat down near a bundle formed from all three species. The ground was wet and slightly damp, but I wanted a closer look. I ran my hands through the grass as if I were running my fingers through freshly showered hair. It felt soft and silky. Perching precariously on some of the blades of grass, there were glassy orbs of dew. They would take it in turns to refract the sun's rays, routinely bursting into colour, as if the timing had been painstakingly pre-programmed. The scent of the grass was fresh and slightly zingy. There was a note of the sun's warmth running through the perfume of the air. I peered closely, firstly at the snowdrops. I zoomed in on their green caps with their white awnings. Their hoods reminded me of the habits worn by nuns in 13th century illustrated manuscripts. The snowdrops in this field were huge. They took up my entire frame of vision. The larger petals underneath the caps were like white ski slopes, curvaceous and awesome, each the side of a mountain, and their stems were long, elegant, and emerald green. The hyacinths were formed out of smaller flowers, like little blue grapes all clinging to a vine, or curls upon curls stacked on top of one another, like an out-of-date purple rinse perm. Bulbous and ergonomic, I was more drawn to touching the hyacinths than any of the others. They were satisfying to gently squeeze, like an all-natural stress reliever. The vivid violet crocuses, with their white pyjama stripes, had petals that were arranged into a wibbly-wobbly asymmetric circle. The pigments of their petals ran into each other, as if they had been tie-dyed at dawn and then left out in the sun to dry. Each of the three varieties was as delicate as they were refined, but they also exuded an architectural integrity that I hadn't noticed before when I'd been standing up. It was as if they had been carved out of fleshy chunks of meat. Their vegetal veins reminded me of mineral deposits bleeding through marble recently hewn from the earth. I sat there, seeing and feeling, not frozen like before, neither listless nor electric. Instead, I was still, grounded, rooted. It's all real, I suddenly thought to myself, as if that may have been untrue before. It's all real. I am real. I turned over to lie on my stomach and took my right eye within a millimetre of one of the crocus's petals. I closed my left. All I could see were blurred colours, violet, lilac, white, dripping into each other like soya milk poured into black tea. Then, suddenly, I saw a flash of something. A rainbow. I slowed down my breathing. Then, again, a flash of the same something. This time everything in my vision shifted, slightly to the left and slightly to the right, and then back to the centre again. Running through the centre of the frame was a flash of rainbow, constructed out of individual blocks of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet, but these blocks were also a bit skewed, serrated, like barbed wire or electrical static. I prepared to wait for it to happen again. I could smell the scent of the iris. It smelled fruity and plummy, rich and complex, of summer berry squash, but also of a not entirely unpleasant body odour. My heart was bumping against my ribs. It seemed especially fast, but I felt quite calm. I waited for a little while longer, staking out the elusive flash amongst the undergrowth. Nothing much happened again, just one smaller flash of static. A little while later, it appeared centre of the frame, but this time there was no shifting from left to right. I was shaken at this final sight of the static, and the electricity across my chest, shoulders and neck flooded back. I suddenly forced my right index finger into the soil, needing to earth myself. The motion made a slow, hollow sound, like printer paper being ripped, and although I felt like I was perpetrating an act of obscene symbolic violence, I also felt the excess energy flow out of my finger and into the ground. A little while later, I stood up. Beneath me lay the village, nestled sweetly into the contour of the valley, surrounded and protected on every side by steep, sheer inclines. From this altitude I could see everything. I could see my parents' house to the left, with its blue solar and photovoltaic panels, the doctor's surgery on the apex of the hill directly opposite, and the train station below with its single track, teasingly signposting my only possible route out. I could also make out the hills beyond the village. They were covered in immensely tall pine trees, and, being 2 miles away, were a dark navy blue. I could see as the hills and the trees anchored onto them receded into the distance. I blinked, and they appeared as they were before. The more I stared, the more they receded, and when I blinked, they would be as they were before. I started to walk down the hill. I had seen flashes of static time and time again over the last few weeks, as I had witnessed entire hillsides recede, taking with them their millions of tons of earth, flora and fauna. I'm glitching again, I thought to myself, as I stepped across the bright yellow tarmac of the train crossing, back into the village.